Welcome to Talent Tuesday with Marie-Louise and myself. And this video is Needs Meets Creation. I needed a special size of mold that I didn't have. When you don't have what you need and you have the material to make it, you kind of go searching around your house for things that may work. And I looked high and low. I did have silicone from Resin. It's 1:1 by volume. And I had this mold making kit that I got off Temu. And I found 3 different lids. I found a lid off a Bath & Body Works air freshener. I found the lid off my garlic powder from Costco. And I also had the lid off this little piggy High Tide picky paste. It is amazing if you look around your house how many things are circular, but they usually have like a little divot or a little spot right in the middle. Right now I'm putting together my mold housing, and you want to get it pretty close to the size that you want because you don't want to waste your silicone rubber, but you also need to have enough space between the sides of the mold and the objects that you're going to put in the mold. So that's why you're seeing me test out the objects that I'm going to put in the mold and make sure that I'm not making it too large and not too small. You'll notice there that I flipped that little pincher thing the other way. I found that in doing this, they tend to go on better in one direction versus the other. So if it's too tight one way, flip it around and see if it's better the other way. Looks like I've got it all together. Yay! Now you'll see that roll of green tape there, and I'm going to stick that to the base of this mold. And you want to stick it so that the sticky side is facing up for the housing unit, because you want to make sure that that tape is sticking onto it so that the silicone doesn't seep through. What I should have done here is place that first lead a little bit further over, but I did end up going back and putting more tape on the end. Also make sure that you overlap the tape a little bit and seal it down really, really well. Again, because you don't want any of that silicone to be leaking out. Now I'm making sure that that tape really is stuck together, that there aren't any air bubbles underneath the edge of the mold and underneath the layers of the tape. Again, just making sure so that the silicone doesn't leak through. Now you may be wondering why I have this on a cardboard piece over my mat, and that is because silicone loves to stick to silicone. So should I get a leak, it's not going to ruin my silicone mat. So now I'm hauling out the instructions on what to do with this Let's Resin silicone rubber. It is an A to B, and it is 1 part A to 1 part B by volume. So I'm pouring in part A, I'm going to pour in part B, and then you mix it for between 3 to 5 minutes. And whenever they say that, I just take the middle. So I mixed it for 4 minutes. We are ready to start pouring the silicone into the mold. First of all, make sure your mold is level. And then you need to pour in a thin layer. Well, not like thin. You need to pour in a significant amount and then put your pieces in. The pieces that I have, the lids that I have, they're called blanks. So if you wanted, for example, to have an imprint of a shell to create a mold, the shell would be your blank. Anyway, so I have my 3 lids, and I did wipe them down with some isopropyl alcohol just to make sure they were nice and clean, and then I am putting them into my mold. You'll notice that off to the side I have a little baggie of coins, and I'm putting, if you noticed right there, I put a dime into my little one, the air freshener lid, and that's because you need to weight these down a little bit. Otherwise, your mold isn't going to be deep enough to be able to do anything in. And here I'm just pouring the rest of my resin in. However, I made a slight mistake here that I will reveal at the end, but it wasn't in the theory, it was just in the execution. Also, the working time that you have for this particular resin with this particular silicone rubber is 45 minutes. So I had plenty of time to figure things out and get things in place. And make sure that you use a plastic spoon, and you can, of course, just wipe that silicone right off it. Do not use a silicone spatula because, again, silicone loves to stick to silicone. I'm adding more coins to these, and I'm trying to look from the side to see if I've got them weighted down enough. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I need to have my weights right in the middle, because if they're off center, that's going to push one edge down further into the mold than it should, and then the base of the mold won't be level, and the project that I want to do this for it will not work. It will, it's going to affect the outcome. You need to have a level base for your molds all around, including the blanks. I'm back and it's the next day and the rubber has set. Of course, it did set pretty quickly, but I was doing other things and I just left it overnight. So now I'm taking apart the housing and I'm trying to peel that green sticky backing off the silicone and it won't come off. And I'm thinking that's because in retrospect, that is the tape that I used is actually for UV resin. Now you'll see that little mold that I made, I gave that thumbs down sign, and that's because I had put too much weight in that little air freshener lid and it displaced all of the silicone rubber. So that mold is pretty useless right now. I can fix it by adding in a thin layer of silicone rubber and it would be totally fine. And I'll probably do that at some point in the future. But I have got the molds that I need now. And these are just about 2 inches and a little bit smaller. And I can't wait until you see what I'm gonna do with them. My molds are complete. Stay tuned for the next video where you will see what I do with these. Thank you as always for being here. Till next time, bye for now.